Have you ever felt worried about life? Maybe you've doubted your faith or wondered, what's the point of it all? You're not alone. In this video, we'll walk through 5 incredible passages from the Bible: Matthew 6, Galatians 5, Romans 12, Luke 12, and Ecclesiastes 2. These words will show us how to live with faith, find true freedom, and discover real meaning. So, grab a coffee, open your heart, and let's get started. Hello, friends. Welcome to this journey of faith. Today, we're diving into a powerful invitation from Jesus. You of little faith, come and follow me. I'm so glad you're here. Let's explore what that means together. Here's what we'll cover. First, living faith humbly with Jesus in Matthew. Then, finding freedom in the Spirit with Paul in Galatians. Next, offering our lives in love from Romans. After that, trusting God over worry in Luke. And finally, seeking true meaning with Solomon in Ecclesiastes. Each step builds on this call, come and follow me. Take a moment, think about where you are in your faith right now. Ready? Let's begin. Let's start with Matthew 6. This chapter is a treasure trove of wisdom, where Jesus is teaching his disciples, and by extension, all of us, how to live out our faith in a way that's genuine and authentic. It's a key part of what we call the Sermon on the Mount, a collection of Jesus' most famous teachings delivered on a hillside to a crowd eager to hear his words. Picture this: Jesus sitting there, surrounded by everyday people, fishermen, farmers, tax collectors, and families, all looking to him for guidance. And what he offers isn't just a set of instructions. It's a radical reimagining of what it means to follow God. At its heart, Matthew 6 is about doing the right thing for the right reason, not for show or praise, but out of a deep personal relationship with our Creator. Jesus begins with a warning that cuts straight to the core. Be careful not to practice your righteousness in front of others to be seen by them. It's a striking statement, especially in a world, then and now, where appearances often matter more than substance. He's addressing a common human temptation, the desire to be noticed, admired, or applauded for our good deeds. In Jesus' time, there were religious leaders like the Pharisees who loved the spotlight. They'd make a big show of their piety, ensuring everyone knew just how holy they were. But Jesus sees through that. He's not impressed by outward displays if the heart isn't in the right place. He's calling us to something deeper, something truer. Take giving to the needy, for example. Jesus says, when you give to the needy, don't announce it with trumpets like the hypocrites do in the synagogues and on the streets to be honored by others. The word hypocrites here is powerful. It literally means actors in Greek, people playing a role for an audience. Imagine someone walking through town, literally blowing a trumpet to signal, look at me, I'm helping the poor. It's absurd when you think about it, but it's not far from what we sometimes see today. People posting every act of kindness on social media, fishing for likes and comments. Jesus flips that upside down. He says, give in secret, and your Father who sees in secret will reward you. It's not about hiding the act itself. It's about where your motivation lies. Are you giving to impress others? Or are you giving because you love God and your neighbor? That's the line Jesus draws. He applies the same principle to prayer. Don't stand on street corners to be noticed, he tells us. The hypocrites loved to pray loudly in public places, synagogues, marketplaces, where everyone could see and hear them. It was a performance, not a conversation with God. Instead, Jesus says, go into your room, close the door, and pray to your Father who's unseen. There's something beautiful about that image. A quiet, private moment between you and God, no audience required. And to help us know how to pray, he gives us the Lord's Prayer. Our Father in heaven, hallowed be your name, your kingdom come, your will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us today our daily bread, and forgive us our debts, as we also have forgiven our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from the evil one. It's short, simple, and yet it covers everything. Praise, surrender, provision, forgiveness, and protection. Jesus isn't just teaching us words. He's teaching us a posture of the heart, one that seeks God's will above our own. Then there's fasting, another spiritual practice of the time. Jesus says, "When you fast, don't look somber as the hypocrites do, for they disfigure their faces to show others they're fasting." Picture someone walking around with a long face, sighing dramatically, hoping everyone notices their sacrifice. It's almost comical, but it's human nature to want credit for our efforts. Jesus says no to that. "Put oil on your head and wash your face," he instructs, "so that it won't be obvious to others that you're fasting, but only to your Father who is unseen." In other words, carry on with life as usual. Let your fasting be a private act of devotion, not a public badge of honor. The reward, he promises, comes from God, not from the applause of the crowd. So what's the point of all this? True faith isn't about applause. It's about a quiet connection with God. Jesus isn't laying down a bunch of rigid rules to burden us. He's offering a path to freedom. Think about it. When we give, pray, or fast to impress others, we're chained to their opinions. We're constantly wondering, did they see? Do they approve? It's exhausting. But when we do these things in secret, just for God, we're liberated from that need for validation. We're free to focus on what really matters, our relationship with Him. The Lord's Prayer captures this perfectly. It's a reminder to align our hearts with God's purposes, not our own agendas. Simple, yes, but its simplicity hides a profound depth. Every line draws us closer to trusting Him, depending on Him, and living for Him. And what about that reward Jesus keeps mentioning? "Your Father who sees in secret will reward you," He says again and again. It's tempting to think of something tangible, money, success, a tangible blessing. But God's rewards often go beyond the material. When we give in secret, we might not get a tax receipt or a thank you note, but we gain peace knowing we've helped someone without strings attached. When we pray behind closed doors, we might not hear applause, but we experience a stillness that refreshes our soul. When we fast quietly, we might not impress our friends, but we grow in discipline and closeness to God. The reward isn't always something we can hold in our hands. It's peace, purpose, and a deeper walk with Him. That's the kind of treasure that lasts. Let's bring this home with a real-life picture. Imagine you're walking down the street and see someone in need. A homeless person, maybe, or a neighbor struggling with groceries. You could pull out your phone, record yourself helping them, and post it online for everyone to see. Or you could quietly slip them some cash, carry their bags, and walk away without a word. Which feels more freeing? Which feels more like faith? Jesus is inviting us to choose the second way, not because it's harder, but because it's truer. It's not about being secretive for the sake of it. It's about keeping our eyes on God, not on the crowd. So, here's a challenge for you. Today, try helping someone without telling a soul. Maybe leave a kind note on a coworker's desk, slip a few dollars into a donation box, or send an encouraging text without expecting a reply. Do it just for God, no fanfare, no credit. How does it feel? Does it lighten your spirit? Does it draw you closer to Him? Take a moment to let that sink in. This is what Jesus is teaching us in Matthew 6. A faith that's real, a faith that's free, a faith that's all about Him. Now, let's turn to Galatians 5. This is where we meet Paul, one of the most influential figures in the New Testament, an apostle of Jesus who went from persecuting Christians to planting churches across the ancient world. Here, he's writing a letter to a group of believers in Galatia, a region in modern-day Turkey, who are wrestling with a big question. What does it mean to follow Christ? They're caught in a tug-of-war between freedom and rules, and Paul steps in with a message that's as bold as it is liberating. He starts with a declaration that grabs your attention. It is for freedom that Christ has set us free. Let that sink in for a moment. Freedom isn't just a nice bonus of faith, it's the whole point. Jesus didn't die and rise again so we could stay chained up. He did it to set us loose, to give us a new way to live. But the Galatians are struggling. Some teachers, often called Judaizers, have come along, telling them that faith in Jesus isn't enough. They're insisting that these Gentile believers need to follow the old Jewish law, starting with circumcision, a physical sign of the covenant God made with Abraham centuries before. For these teachers, it's not just about believing in Christ. It's about checking boxes, following rituals, proving you're in the club. Paul sees this for what it is, a step backward. He warns them, "Stand firm then, and do not let yourselves be burdened again by a yoke of slavery." He's painting a vivid picture here. Slavery isn't just a metaphor. It's what they'll feel if they trade the freedom of Christ for a list of requirements. Imagine carrying a heavy yoke, like an ox plowing a field, weighed down by rules that don't save you. Paul's saying, don't go back there. Christ has already done the work. Instead, he points them and us to something better. The only thing that counts, he writes, is faith expressing itself through love. That's the heart of it. Not rituals, not regulations, not outward signs like circumcision, but faith, trust in Jesus, lived out in love. It's a simple sentence, but it's revolutionary. Paul's telling these believers they don't need to earn God's favor by following the law. They already have it through Christ. And the proof isn't in some external mark on their bodies. It's in how they treat one another, how they reflect God's love in their actions. This is where Paul gets practical, because freedom in Christ isn't abstract. It's something you can see, feel, and live every day. To make his point crystal clear, Paul lays out two paths, two ways to live. First, he lists what he calls the acts of the flesh. It's a sobering lineup. Immorality, impurity, debauchery, idolatry, witchcraft, hatred, discord, jealousy, fits of rage, selfish ambition, dissensions, factions, envy, drunkenness, orgies, and the like. It's not a pretty picture, is it? These aren't just random sins. They're the natural outgrowth of a life driven by selfish desires. A life that says, I'll do what I want, when I want, no matter who it hurts. Paul's blunt about the consequences. Those who live like this will not inherit the kingdom of God. It's a warning. Choosing this path leads to bondage, not just in this life but beyond it. It's a cycle of chaos and emptiness that traps you. Then comes the contrast, and it's like a breath of fresh air, the fruit of the Spirit. But the fruit of the Spirit, Paul writes, is love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. What a difference! These aren't rules to follow. They're qualities that grow in you when you let the Holy Spirit lead. Think of a tree bearing fruit. It doesn't strain or force it. The fruit comes naturally from being rooted in good soil. That's what Paul's describing. A life rooted in Christ, guided by His Spirit, producing something beautiful. Love that puts others first. Joy that doesn't fade with circumstances. Peace that calms the storm inside. Patience that endures frustration. Kindness that lifts others up. Goodness that seeks what's right. Faithfulness that keeps promises. Gentleness that softens harsh edges. Self-control that says no to temptation. One path leads to bondage. This one leads to life, real, abundant life. Paul's message is clear. You're free, not to do whatever you want, but to love like Jesus. That's the catch, isn't it? Freedom in Christ isn't a license to be selfish. It's an invitation to be selfless. It's not about indulging every whim. It's about choosing what's good, what's true, what reflects God's heart. And here's the thing, this freedom isn't easy. It's a choice we make every day. The acts of the flesh, they're the default. It's easy to snap in anger, to envy what someone else has, to chase fleeting pleasures. But the fruit of the Spirit, that takes effort, intention, and help. Thankfully, we're not alone in it. The Spirit helps us say no to those selfish desires and yes to what's good. Paul even says, against such things there is no law. You don't need rules to limit love or kindness. They're limitless when God's at work in you. Imagine a life full of peace and kindness instead of anger and envy. Close your eyes for a second and picture it. Waking up with a sense of calm instead of dread. Responding to a rude comment with patience instead of a comeback. Offering a smile to a stranger instead of rushing by. That's what Christ offers. A life transformed, not by force, but by grace. It's not a fantasy. It's a possibility. And it starts with faith, not rules. Paul's not asking the Galatians or us to follow a checklist. He's asking us to trust Jesus and let that trust spill over into how we live. Faith expressing itself through love. It's the simplest and hardest thing all at once. Let's make it real. Think about your day so far. Have you felt that pull toward the acts of the flesh? Maybe a flash of jealousy, a moment of impatience? We all do. But what if you flipped it? What if, just for today, you focused on one fruit of the Spirit, say patience or kindness? Picture yourself stuck in traffic, choosing to breathe deep instead of honking, or seeing someone struggling and offering a hand instead of scrolling past. Try it. For one day, lean into patience or kindness and see how it changes you. It's not about perfection. It's about direction. The Spirit's there to guide you, step by step. That's the freedom Paul's talking about in Galatians 5. A freedom that doesn't enslave us to ourselves but sets us free to love others. It's a gift from Christ, one on the cross, offered to us every day. So let's take it, live it, and see where it leads. With that, let's keep going on this journey together. In Romans 12, Paul calls us to a radical life of love and service, and it's one of the most inspiring chapters in the New Testament. Paul, the same apostle we met in Galatians, is writing this letter to a group of believers in Rome. People living in the heart of the Roman Empire, a bustling, powerful, and often brutal city. These Christians are a small, diverse community. Jews and Gentiles, slaves and free, all trying to figure out what it means to follow Jesus in a world that doesn't always welcome their faith. Rome is a place of grand temples, gladiator fights, and emperor worship. A broken world where power and pride reign. Into this setting, Paul sends a message that's both a challenge and a lifeline, urging them to live out their faith in a way that stands out, not blends in. Paul starts with a call that's as bold as it is beautiful. Therefore, I urge you, brothers and sisters, in view of God's mercy, to offer your bodies as a living sacrifice, holy and pleasing to God. This is your true and proper worship. Let's unpack that. He's not talking about a literal sacrifice like the animals offered in the Old Testament temple. Instead, he's asking for something harder, our whole selves, our everyday lives given over to God. A living sacrifice means we don't just show up to church once a week and call it good. We live every moment, our work, our words, our choices, as an offering to Him. It's holy because it's set apart, different from the world's ways, and pleasing because it reflects God's heart. Paul calls this our true worship, shifting the focus from rituals to a lifestyle. In Rome, where people burned incense to Caesar, this was radical. Worship wasn't about altars, it was about how you lived. Then Paul doubles down. Do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Then you will be able to test and approve what God's will is, His good, pleasing, and perfect will. This is where the rubber meets the road. The pattern of this world in Rome meant chasing status, wealth, and power, often at others' expense. Sound familiar? Today, it's the same. Scrolling social media, we're pressured to fit in, to look successful, to keep up. Paul says no to that. Don't let the world squeeze you into its mold. Instead, let God transform you from the inside out, starting with your mind. A renewed mind doesn't think like the crowd. It asks, what does God want? And the promise? When we see through His lens, we discover His will, which is good, pleasing, and perfect, even when it's countercultural. Paul doesn't leave it abstract, he gets practical. He says God has given each of us gifts, different ways to serve. If your gift is prophesying, then prophesy in accordance with your faith. If it is serving, then serve. If it is teaching, then teach. If it is to encourage, then give encouragement. If it is giving, then give generously. If it is to lead, do it diligently. If it is to show mercy, do it cheerfully. This list isn't exhaustive, but it's a snapshot of how diverse we are. Maybe you're the one who speaks truth boldly, that's prophesying. Or you're great at helping behind the scenes, that's serving. Maybe you inspire others with words or share what you have without hesitation. Paul's point is, use what you've got. Don't sit on it, don't compare it, just do it well. In Rome, where society ranked people by class, this was revolutionary. Everyone has a role, slave or free, and every role matters. Then he shifts to how we live with each other, and it's where Romans 12 gets really challenging and really beautiful. Love must be sincere. he says. Hate what is evil. Cling to what is good. Be devoted to one another in love. Honor one another above yourselves. Sincere love isn't fake smiles or empty words. It's real. It's costly. It means putting others first, even when it's inconvenient. And then Paul takes it further. Bless those who persecute you. Bless and do not curse. In Rome, Christians faced mockery, suspicion, even violence. Blessing your persecutors? That's not human nature. But Paul's not done. If your enemy is hungry, feed him. If he is thirsty, give him something to drink. In doing this, you will heap burning coals on his head. This isn't about revenge. The burning coals might mean stirring their conscience, showing them a kindness they can't ignore. Paul sums it up. Do not be overcome by evil, but overcome evil with good. It's a battle plan, not fighting fire with fire, but with love. This is a total life change, inside and out. Paul's showing us that faith isn't just belief, it's action. It's not enough to say, I trust Jesus, and leave it there. Faith moves, it serves, it loves. He uses the image of a body. In Christ we, though many, form one body, and each member belongs to all the others. Think of your own body. Your hands don't compete with your feet. They work together. That's us. Different gifts, one purpose, held together by love. In Rome, where division was the norm, this unity was a witness. And it still is. When we live this way, people notice. Feeding your enemy, though, that's hard. Imagine someone who's hurt you deeply. A coworker who stabbed you in the back. A friend who betrayed you. Your instinct is to push them away, maybe even wish them harm. Paul says, feed them. Give them a sandwich, a glass of water, a kind word. It's not weakness. It's strength. God's strength is how his kingdom works, turning the world's logic upside down. But it starts with that renewed mind Paul talked about. You have to see others as God does, not as threats, but as people he loves, people he died for. That shift doesn't happen overnight. It's a process, a daily choice to let God rewire how you think. Let's make it real. Think of your life right now. Who's hard to love? Maybe it's a family member who criticizes you, a neighbor who's rude, or someone online who attacks your faith. What would it look like to bless them instead of curse them? Maybe it's a prayer for their peace, a small act of kindness, or just holding your tongue when you want to lash out. That's the living sacrifice Paul's talking about. Not easy, but transformative. So, here's your step. Encourage someone today, or forgive someone who's hurt you. Maybe send a text saying, I appreciate you, to a friend. Or take a deep breath and let go of that grudge you've been carrying. Let love lead. It's the heartbeat of Romans 12. It's not just a nice idea. It's a call to action, a way to live that changes you and the world around you. Ready for more? Let's keep going on this journey together. Let's hear from Jesus again in Luke 12. This chapter is a powerful moment in the gospel, where Jesus is speaking not just to his closest disciples, but to a massive crowd, thousands of people gathered around him. Pressing in so close, they're practically stepping on each other. Imagine the scene. It's somewhere in Galilee, likely an open field or hillside, the air buzzing with anticipation. These aren't just casual listeners. They're people hungry for hope, living under Roman rule, scraping by day to day, surrounded by uncertainty and fear. Jesus has been healing the sick, casting out demons, and teaching with an authority that's turning heads. The Pharisees are watching, skeptical and threatened, but the crowd, they're captivated. And into this moment, Jesus delivers a message that cuts through the noise. Trust God in a world full of fear. He starts with a bold statement to his disciples, loud enough for everyone to hear. I tell you, my friends, do not be afraid of those who kill the body and after that can do no more. But I will show you whom you should fear. Fear him who, after your body has been killed, has authority to throw you into hell. Yes, I tell you, fear him. It's a sobering opener. In a world where Roman soldiers could arrest you, where bandits roamed the roads, where death was a real and present threat, Jesus doesn't sugarcoat it. People can hurt you, even kill you, but he puts it in perspective. Their power ends there. God's authority goes beyond the grave into eternity. Hell, here, Gehenna in the Greek, was a vivid image for his listeners. A valley near Jerusalem where trash burned day and night, a symbol of ultimate separation from God. Jesus isn't trying to scare them into submission. He's lifting their eyes to what matters most. Don't let human threats control you. Trust the one who holds your forever. But then, in classic Jesus fashion, he softens the tone with tenderness. Are not 5 sparrows sold for 2 pennies? Yet not one of them is forgotten by God. Indeed, the very hairs of your head are all numbered. Don't be afraid. You are worth more than many sparrows. Picture this. Sparrows were the cheapest thing you could buy at the market, 2 for a penny, barely worth counting. Yet God notices every one. If he cares for something so small, how much more does he care for you? Counting the hairs on your head, it's not just poetic, it's personal. In a crowd of thousands, Jesus is saying, I see you. God sees you. Fear loses its grip when you know you're valued like that. It's a promise that echoes through the ages. You're not lost in the shuffle. You're known, you're loved. From there, Jesus shifts to a worry that hits closer to home for his listeners and for us. Therefore I tell you, do not worry about your life, what you will eat, or about your body, what you will wear. For life is more than food, and the body more than clothes. In first century Galilee, this wasn't abstract. Most people lived hand to mouth. Farmers praying for rain, fishermen hoping for a catch, families wondering if they'd have enough bread for tomorrow. Clothes weren't fast fashion. They were hard-earned, patched-up necessities. Worry wasn't a luxury, it was survival. Yet Jesus says, don't. Why? Because worry doesn't add anything, it only takes. He's not dismissing their needs. He's redefining what life's about. It's not just surviving, it's trusting, it's living for something bigger. To drive it home, he points to nature. Consider the ravens. They do not sow or reap. They have no storeroom or barn. Yet God feeds them. And how much more valuable you are than birds. Ravens weren't even cute like sparrows. They were scavengers, loud and scrappy. But God keeps them alive. Then he adds, consider how the wildflowers grow. They do not labor or spin. Yet I tell you, not even Solomon in all his splendor was dressed like one of these. If that is how God clothes the grass of the field, which is here today, and tomorrow is thrown into the fire, how much more will he clothe you, you of little faith? Solomon, the richest king Israel ever had, decked out in gold and robes, couldn't match a wildflower's beauty. And those flowers? They bloom for a season, then they're gone, used as fuel in an oven. If God lavishes care on something so temporary, won't he provide for you, his child? You of little faith isn't a harsh rebuke. It's a gentle nudge. He's saying, I know you're scared, but you can trust me more than this. Then comes the heart of it. Do not set your heart on what you will eat or drink. Do not worry about it. For the pagan world runs after all such things, and your Father knows that you need them. But seek his kingdom, and these things will be given to you as well. The pagan world chased food, status, security, idols of their own making. Jesus says, you're different. Your Father knows what you need before you even ask. Seek his kingdom, his rule, his way, his priorities, and the rest falls into place. It's not a promise of wealth or ease, but of provision. In a crowd full of anxious faces, Jesus offers peace. Do not be afraid, little flock, for your Father has been pleased to give you the kingdom. A shepherd calling his sheep, intimate, protective, sure. Later in the chapter, Jesus shifts gears, urging readiness. Be dressed ready for service and keep your lamps burning, like servants waiting for their master to return from a wedding banquet. In those days, servants didn't know when the master would come home. Midnight, dawn, anytime. They had to be prepared, lamps lit, work done. Jesus paints a surprising twist. It will be good for those servants whose master finds them watching when he comes. Truly I tell you, he will dress himself to serve, will have them recline at the table, and will come and wait on them. The master serving the servants? It's a glimpse of Jesus himself, the one who washed his disciples' feet. But there's a warning too. You also must be ready, because the Son of Man will come at an hour when you do not expect him. Peter asks, Lord, are you telling this parable to us or to everyone? Jesus answers with more parables. Faithful managers rewarded, lazy ones punished. The call is clear. Live faithfully every day, not just waiting for some distant end. What's Jesus saying through all this? Trust me, I've got you. Worry steals our peace. It's a thief that creeps in when bills pile up, when the future's uncertain, when we feel alone. But Jesus offers something better, a trust that anchors us. He knows our needs before we ask. Food, clothes, shelter, yes, but also love, purpose, hope. That call to be ready is not about sitting around, predicting dates for his return. It's about living faithfully right now, loving your neighbor, forgiving your enemy, seeking his kingdom today. You of little faith isn't a scolding. It's an invitation to trust more, to lean into the one who sees every sparrow, every flower, every hair on your head. Think about your own life. What keeps you up at night? Maybe it's money. Will there be enough? Maybe it's health. What if something goes wrong? Maybe it's relationships. Will they last? Jesus doesn't say those things don't matter. He says they don't have to own you. Look at the birds outside your window. They don't have 401k, S, or grocery lists, yet they eat. Wildflowers don't shop or sow, yet they're stunning. If God's that generous with them, won't he be with you? It's not blind optimism. It's faith rooted in who he is. And being ready, that's not just for some far-off day. It's choosing kindness over anger this afternoon, patience over frustration tonight, prayer over panic tomorrow. Let's make it practical. Today, when worry creeps in about work, kids, whatever, pause. Look out your window, see a bird or a flower, and remember, God's got them, and he's got you. Instead of spinning your wheels, pray. Hand it to God. Say, I trust you with this. It's not magic. It's a shift. And live ready. Do that small act of good you've been putting off. Forgive that grudge you've held. Share that encouragement you've kept inside. That's seeking his kingdom. That's trusting him more. Luke 12 is Jesus meeting us in our fear and saying, I'm bigger than that. Follow me. So today, let's take his hand, less worry, more trust. We come to Ecclesiastes 2. This is where we meet King Solomon, a towering figure in the Old Testament, often hailed as the wisest man who ever lived. He's the son of David, the king who built Israel into a golden age of peace and prosperity. Solomon's reign was legendary. His wisdom drew visitors like the Queen of Sheba. His wealth overflowed with gold and treasures, and his kingdom stretched further than any before him. The Bible tells us God granted him wisdom beyond measure after he asked for it instead of riches or long life. But here, in Ecclesiastes, we see a different side of Solomon. Not the triumphant king, but a man wrestling with a question that haunts us all. What's the meaning of life? He's reflecting on everything he's done, everything he's chased, and he's laying it bare under one haunting phrase, under the sun. It's his way of saying, if you look at life without God, what do you see? And his answer isn't exactly cheerful. Solomon starts with a confession. I said to myself, come now, I will test you with pleasure to find out what is good. This isn't some casual experiment. It's a full-on dive into everything the world offers. He's got the resources to do it too. He's not a peasant scraping by. He's a king with limitless means. So he goes for it. I tried cheering myself with wine, he says, picturing lavish feasts with goblets overflowing, laughter echoing through his palace. He doesn't stop there. I undertook great projects. I built houses for myself and planted vineyards. I made gardens and parks and planted all kinds of fruit trees in them. I made reservoirs to water groves of flourishing trees. Imagine the scale. Palaces rising from the ground, vineyards stretching across hills, gardens rivaling Eden, water systems engineering abundance. This is a man shaping the world to his whims, creating beauty and order with his own hands. But he keeps going. I bought male and female slaves and had other slaves who were born in my house. I also owned more herds and flocks than anyone in Jerusalem before me. Wealth in those days wasn't just gold, it was people, livestock, land. Solomon's got herds of cattle and sheep dotting the countryside, more than any king before him. Then he adds, I amassed silver and gold for myself, and the treasure of kings and provinces. I acquired male and female singers, and a harem as well, the delights of a man's heart. Picture the scene. Piles of shimmering coins, tribute from distant lands, musicians filling the air with song, a harem offering every pleasure a king could desire. Solomon's not dabbling. He's indulging on a level most of us can't even imagine. I became greater by far than anyone in Jerusalem before me, he says, and he's not exaggerating. This is excess, ambition, and achievement rolled into one. Yet here's the gut punch. Then I looked at everything my hands had done and what I had toiled to achieve, and behold, it was all meaningless, a chasing after the wind. Nothing was gained under the sun. After all that wine, buildings, wealth, pleasure, he steps back and sees nothing. Meaningless is the Hebrew word hevel, vapor, breath, something you can't hold on to. Chasing after the wind is even more vivid. You run, you reach, but you grasp air. Solomon's not saying it wasn't fun in the moment. He's saying it didn't last. The wine ran dry, the project's finished, the gold sat there, and the thrill faded. He even compares wisdom and folly. I saw that wisdom is better than folly, just as light is better than darkness. The wise have eyes in their heads, while the fool walks in the dark. Sure, being smart beats being reckless, but then he drops the hammer. The same fate overtakes them both. Then I said to myself, the fate of the fool will overtake me also. What then do I gain by being wise? Death. The wise and the fool both die. Kings and beggars end up in the ground. What's the point? This hits hard because Solomon's not some cynic who never tried. He's the guy who had it all, brain, bank account, bucket list checked off, and still came up empty. So I hated life, he admits, because the work that is done under the sun was grievous to me. All of it is meaningless, a chasing after the wind. He's not just disappointed, he's despairing. He even resents his legacy. I hated all the things I had toiled for under the sun, because I must leave them to the one who comes after me. And who knows whether that person will be wise or a fool. All that effort, all that wealth, handed off to someone who might squander it. It's a brutal realization. You can build an empire, but you can't take it with you, and you can't control what happens next. But then Solomon shifts, and it's a glimmer of light in the gloom. A person can do nothing better than to eat and drink and find satisfaction in their own toil. This, I see, is from the hand of God, for without him, who can eat or find enjoyment? After all his chasing, all his grand experiments with pleasure, wealth, and wisdom, Solomon lands here. It's a striking moment because up until now, Ecclesiastes has been a relentless drumbeat of meaningless, meaningless. A king staring at his empire of wine, palaces, and gold, only to call it a chase after the wind. But this verse, tucked in the middle of chapter 2, feels like a crack in the darkness, a hint that maybe there's something worth holding on to. He's not throwing everything out, he's redirecting our gaze. Let's unpack this shift because it's where Solomon starts to see beyond the emptiness, and it's where we can too. First, let's picture what he's describing. Eat and drink and find satisfaction in their own toil. It's so ordinary, isn't it? Eating a meal, maybe bread and olives at a wooden table, a cup of wine from his vineyards. Drinking not to excess like his earlier tests, but simply to quench thirst. Toiling, working the land, building something, even ruling a kingdom, and finding satisfaction in it. This isn't the glamorous life of a king with singers and harems. It's the everyday rhythm of human existence. After chasing the extraordinary, great projects, vast wealth, every pleasure his heart desired, Solomon circles back to the basics. And he doesn't just say it's okay to live this way. He says it's the best a person can do. That's a pivot. He spent verses lamenting how nothing lasts, how death levels the wise and the fool, how his toil might be squandered by the next guy. But here, he's saying there's value in the simple act of living, if you see it right. The key comes next. This, I see, is from the hand of God. Solomon's not guessing. He's concluding, based on all he's observed. He's tested life under the sun, life without a higher view, and found it lacking. But now he lifts his eyes. Eating, drinking, working, these aren't just survival. They're gifts. Without God, they're just motions: chew, swallow, sweat, repeat. With God, there's something more. For without him, who can eat or find enjoyment? It's a rhetorical question with a sharp edge. Think about it. You can have a feast, but if your heart's restless, it's just food. You can labor all day, but if it's for nothing, it's just exhaustion. Solomon's saying the ability to enjoy, the satisfaction itself, isn't automatic. It's divine. God doesn't just provide the meal or the job. He provides the joy in them. That's a game changer after all his despair. Let's linger here because this isn't some throwaway line. Solomon's been a king with everything. Vineyards to sip from, servants to cook for him, wealth to buy whatever he craved. Yet he's pointing to something deeper than the stuff itself. It's not the pleasure that matters. It's the satisfaction, the ability to enjoy it, and that comes from God. Imagine a banquet. Gold platters, exotic fruits, the finest wine. You could sit there, taste it all, and still feel hollow. Solomon did. Now imagine a simple supper: bread, cheese, a friend across the table, and your heart's full. What's the difference? Not the menu, it's the meaning behind it. Solomon's realizing that joy isn't in the thing, it's in the giver. He chased pleasure for its own sake and came up empty. Now he's saying, look up, it's God who makes it good. He digs deeper with a contrast that sharpens the point. To the person who pleases him, God gives wisdom, knowledge, and happiness. But to the sinner, he gives the task of gathering and storing up wealth to hand it over to the one who pleases God. This is Solomon getting philosophical, splitting humanity into two camps. On one side, there's the person who pleases God, someone living in tune with him, not perfect but faithful. To them, God gives not just stuff, but intangibles. Wisdom to see life clearly, knowledge to understand it, happiness to enjoy it. These aren't things you can buy or build. They're gifts from above. On the other side, there's the sinner. Not necessarily a villain, but someone chasing life under the sun, ignoring God. Their job? Gathering and storing up wealth. Working hard, piling it high, only to lose it. And who gets it? The one who pleases God. It's ironic. The godless toil for treasure, but it slips through their fingers to someone else. This isn't about karma or a cosmic paycheck. Solomon's observing a pattern. The person who lives for God finds joy in what's already theirs, the meal, the work, the day, while the one who doesn't is stuck in a loop of accumulation without fulfillment. Think of a farmer. One plants, harvests, eats, and thanks God, content with the cycle. Another plants, harvests, hoards, and frets, always needing more, never satisfied. The first has less but feels rich. The second has more but feels poor. Solomon's saying God's hand tips the scales, not with wealth, but with meaning. The sinner might end up with bigger barns, but they're empty inside. The faithful might have smaller ones, but they're full of life. Then he adds, this too is meaningless, a chasing after the wind. But the tone's different now. Earlier, meaningless was a cry of despair. Everything's vapor, nothing lasts. Here, it's perspective. He's not trashing the eating, drinking, and working. He's saying even this contrast, God's gifts versus the world's chase, is fleeting under the sun. Without God, it's all empty anyway. With him, the ordinary takes on meaning, but it's still just a taste of what's eternal. Solomon's not fully out of the gloom. He's still wrestling, but he's glimpsing something real. The joy, the wisdom, the satisfaction, they point beyond the sun to the one who made it. Let's make it personal. Where are you chasing satisfaction? Maybe it's in a paycheck, a perfect home, a packed schedule, things Solomon tried to. He's telling us, it won't work unless God's in it. But flip it. What if you savored the ordinary today? A cup of coffee, warm in your hands. Thank God for it. A task at work, done well, see his hand in the strength to do it. A chat with a friend. Feel the joy he plants there. That's what Solomon's getting at. Life's not meaningless when God's the source. The contrast is stark. Those who live for him find joy in the simple things, while those who don't just pile up stuff they'll lose. Try this. Today, pause over something small. A meal, a moment, and let it be enough. Whisper, "This is from you, God," and feel the shift. Solomon didn't find meaning in his gold, but he glimpsed it here. It's not the whole answer. Ecclesiastes keeps wrestling, but it's a start, a light in the gloom, pointing us to the God who makes the ordinary matter. Without God, it's all empty. That's Solomon's hard-earned lesson. He's not saying life's worthless. He's saying life under the sun, life without a view of eternity, is a dead end. His search echoes Jesus' words from the Gospels. Do not store up for yourselves treasures on earth, where moths and vermin destroy, and where thieves break in and steal. But store up for yourselves treasures in heaven. True treasure isn't here. It's in heaven, in a relationship with God that outlasts palaces and gold. Solomon's chasing after the wind mirrors Jesus' call to seek the kingdom first. Life's meaning doesn't come from stuff, wine, wealth, or even wisdom alone. It comes from God, the one who gives the joy behind the meal, the purpose behind the work. This is a hard truth, but a hopeful one. Hard because it forces us to face our own chasing. What's your wind? Money? Success? Approval? Solomon's been there, and he's telling us, it won't fill you. I think of people today working 80-hour weeks for a bigger house, scrolling for likes, chasing the next high. It's not new. Solomon did it 3,000 years ago, and it left him hollow. But the hope? God offers more. Satisfaction in a sandwich shared with a friend, peace in a job well done, joy in a sunset, all gifts from him. It's not about having nothing. It's about finding everything in him. Let's bring it home. Look at your life. Where are you chasing the wind? Maybe it's that promotion you're killing yourself for, or the perfect image you're curating online. Solomon's saying, stop, step back, enjoy what's in front of you, your coffee, your family, your work. Not because it's all there is, but because God's in it. Try this. Today, take a moment to thank him for something simple. A meal, a laugh, a breath. That's where meaning hides. Solomon didn't find it in his palaces, but he glimpsed it in God's presence. And that's where we're headed next. Wrapping up this journey with a call to follow the one who makes it all matter. So what have we learned? From Matthew, live humbly. From Galatians, embrace freedom in the Spirit. From Romans, offer love. From Luke, trust over worry. From Ecclesiastes, seek God for meaning. It all points to Jesus saying, "You of little faith, come and follow me." He's calling you today. Take this with you. Spend time in prayer, read these chapters, and live them out. Thank you for joining me. May you find peace and purpose in following him. God bless you.